Hello YouTube. Here we are with my bedside computer, which currently has the Core 2 quad board in it. I think that the Core 2 quad is a little bit overkill. I mean, I've always thought it was. It runs really well, but I've always thought it was kind of overkill for my bedside computer. Then again, overkill is never a bad thing. But I'm feeling adventurous. Guess what I got back from Grateful 42? This thing. Yes, this is that ASRock board that flipped its shit when I put the 6-core processor in it. I did a ton more digging on this board, and it turns out that this board is not compatible with the 1045T Phenom X6 processor. It's compatible with the 1035T and the 1055T, but not the 45T. I don't know why. That's just weird, but that's how it is. So that's probably why it freaked out. So what I'm going to do is try to use it again. Now, I remember quite clearly from Max Arcade's videos that the 700 series chipsets, AMD chipsets, are kind of a pain in the ass. I don't like certain graphics cards and things like that, but he used a 9600 GT in his for a long time and it worked fine. So I'm going to assume that this is fine. Take a look at the board again after I show you what's in here. I got a GT240 in here because, let's face it, I don't need a powerhouse card next to my bed. 8 gigs of RAM, which is way too much for a bedside computer. This really should be used for something else besides that. One of the Maskell heat sinks that's a screw-down backplate design. And a Netgear wireless card. Now this is this ASRock board again. It's a 770 chipset, obviously. I think he got this off of Newegg for like $50, so it was a very, very budget board. It's got a rather thick manual, probably because of all these languages. There's your back plate, so we can see what's on it. It's got PS2, SPDIF, both coax and digital, or both coax and optical. Looks like bunch of USB, Ethernet, and a nice array of onboard sound. Look at that. That's better onboard sound than what's on here. On here you only have just basic stereo sound. That's all I use, but still, that's kind of nice. Look at the board itself. Here we go. Here's the board itself. It's actually a nice board for being made by a budget board maker. Although ASRock is on their own now. They're not a budget board maker anymore. Maybe they are. I don't know. But they're not part of Asus anymore. 4 RAM slots. IDE. Floppy. Has 6 SATA ports on it, which is pretty awesome. This one also has 6 SATA ports, so the board it's replacing is pretty much on par. Has 2 PCIe X16 slots, which I like, and 3 PCI slots. This one has like 5 PCI slots. That's an awesome board right there. This one I really like the design for locking in the cards, though. It's just a sliding thing instead of a clip you have to pull back. So that's kind of nice. The bracket on the board is not held down by plastic standoffs like the other ASRock board I had is. So that's kind of nice. It actually takes a 8-pin CPU connector. This thing can take AM2, AM2 Plus, and AM3 processors. I plan to get an AM3 processor for this machine if this board works out for a while. I'm probably going to get an AM3 processor for this board anyway, just because it can take it. I've been pondering getting an Athlon 2X3 or a Phenom 2X4. Really depends on what's more worth it. I think an X3 is probably more worth it because if I get a Phenom 2X4 955 Black Edition off Newegg, it'd just be overkill for a system like this. I think an X3 is probably fine, but hey, the Athlon 2X4 is probably not as powerful as the Core 2 Quad, so it still might work out okay. There's your I/O right there. Got your PS2, lots of USB, and your audio. No onboard video because of the type of board it is. This board doesn't have onboard video either. So there you have it. So the processor I actually have lying around to put in this board is an AMD Athlon X2 4200 Plus, which is not all that powerful, but it will run in this board. I ran that processor in this board and it was very stable, so I'll have to see what happens with another processor. Hopefully the 770 chipset will behave this time, because it didn't for Grateful 42 and it didn't for me, so I'm going to give it a second shot and see what happens. Alright, that board's in here. I got 4 gigs of RAM in here. I got the Athlon X2. Got the video card and the wireless card. It's basically a drop-in replacement for what was in there, except that it needs a better processor than what it has now. So I'm going to get to installing Windows on this and have some fun with it. And this Core 2 quad board will definitely see the air duster, because it's quite dusty and nasty. So let's go put this where it belongs. Alright, it's all up and running. There's my backup drive. It looks like a G5. And everything's all connected up. I'm just downloading drivers right now. Focus. Got the NVIDIA driver downloading for the graphics card. This is the board itself, in case you guys wanted more information on it. It's an A7070DE+. These are its features. There you go. Here's the unfortunate part. The audio is VIA. And VIA doesn't make the best audio in the world, so who knows what that's going to be like. But as long as I can use loudness compression on here so that I can hear really quiet, so that everything is the same volume on this computer, I should be fine. I typically don't like that type of audio setup, but for next to my bed it's very convenient, so I don't have to have it extremely loud, but can still hear everything. So got all these things downloading here, and it seems to be running fine so far, but who knows if this board will be temperamental again. I think these chipsets act up every now and then. And I gotta play with the registry to make sure numlock doesn't turn on every time I start the computer, because that's also an issue with 10 keyless keyboards like this one. So I'll get all this stuff working and then have at it. Alright, I got Windows pretty much up and running on here, with a bunch of my stuff installed. I haven't changed the background yet. Come on. You can open up properties. It's not hard. There you go. Yeah. System rating still not available. I should change that. But the VIA audio is actually surprisingly good on this board. I thought it would be terrible, considering the trouble I've had in the past with VIA audio. The only complaint I have about this is that it's kind of quiet. But that's really it. The control panel's nice. Lets you control a lot of the sound. So this particular chipset is not that bad at all. Room correction. Not bad at all. I'll give you a sample of it, actually. Let's go to Windows Media Player. Of course, since I'm copying files, it might just pillage that hard drive. Yeah, it's being slow because I'm copying all my files. How about Kalimba? Alright, I have no sound coming out of this speaker for whatever reason. That's weird. It was just a loose speaker terminal. The sound out of this via audio is excellent. It's really good quality. The only complaint I have is that it's really quiet compared to the Realtek chipsets I'm used to. And it's a lot quieter than most sound cards I'm used to too, so just be aware of that. Via audio I've had pretty bad experience with in the past. Like I've seen via audio drivers that just plain suck. Like they disappear from your tray next to the clock. Sometimes the audio just flat out stops working. It's just nasty, but what's on this particular chipset seems to be alright. So I'll continue to use it as long as it works. Anyhow, got this motherboard in my bedside computer. That's how I'm going to test it. I'm going to test it in like a real world scenario where I'll use it pretty much every day. And hopefully it behaves itself. We'll find out eventually. If I come back with a, oh, it sucks, oh, get it out of my face, sort of video. So, there you have it, guys. Not the most exciting thing in the world, but, it's a bedside computer update. I experiment. This is the computer I sort of do real world scenario testing on. So, there you have it. Have a good one, everybody. Ciao.